Hello, everyone, and I would like to talk to y'all about buildcrafting because it's something that Bungie's been talking about more recently. And with the recent announced changes about like abilities getting their own independent cooldowns, I think this is a really good time to talk about how the community buildcrafts and what actually buildcrafting is, and like some of the problems that I see. And let me just jump into the game and show you an example. So if you look at my character, you can see from my mods that I'm using an energy converter build. So this basically consists of me being able to get up to ×5 charge with light, which lets me get 50% or basically 50% of my super back when I throw a grenade. Okay, so that's basically the idea. So in order to do this, I have to commit every 4th slot mod to do this. So this frees me up to do nothing. I can't do anything for synergistic play, like I can't do any Warmind cells, I can't do any other charge with light builds. There's nothing I can do, sorry, excuse me, where I can like, okay, I can generate extra elemental wells for you. It's kind of like the idea of using Aeon. You know, if I'm using Aeon to create heavy ammo, I'm not doing it for myself. I'm always doing it for my allies. Now, you could argue, yeah, this makes orbs and, well, actually, orbs for your allies. That may work for you, but I don't know. That's not why people run this. People run this because they want to make heavy for their teammates. That's kind of the idea of a lot of mods in this game. Like, okay, I can't do any... I'm not going to do this because it doesn't benefit me. I have to play selfishly because if I want to use my energy converter, then this is how I have to do it. I have to assemble it in such a way that I can self-sustain myself. And that's partly why I personally do the overcharge wellmaker, because not only does it help me, but it also helps my teammates. It also lets me get charged with light a lot faster than, say, if I was running taking charge or something like that. See, the thing is, with the elemental charge, you get charged with light by picking up an elemental well. If it's a matching elemental well as your subclass, you get 2 charges per pickup, and you get 1 if it's not. So basically, when I'm playing Arc, I can 2 finishers and I can have 50% of my super. When I'm not playing Arc, 3 finishers and I can have 50% of my super. So that's why I basically run this. And the reason I'll never take this off is because it works across all subclasses. It gets enhanced when I'm using Arc. Sure, you could say that. It doesn't rely on certain weapons. It doesn't rely on seasonal artifact mods. It doesn't rely on an exotic armor piece. It doesn't even rely on an exotic weapon. So basically the idea here is that this relies on nothing other than the mods that are slotted in each of my armor pieces. So right here, I have a Mantle Battle Harmony. I swap that over. Build still stays in connection. My build is still effectively working, and I can throw on and modify whatever exotic armor I want to do. So I'm not restricted to using certain weapons, certain armors, certain subclasses, certain seasonal mods. So now talking about seasonal mods, let's move into seasonal mods real quick. This is something that's a big pet peeve of mine. The way this is structured, there's always 2 on the final column that are like objectively better than the other ones. Like, Focusing Lens and Particle Deconstructor are objectively better than Thermoclastic Blooming, Pyretic Embrace, and Well of Potency. First off, Well of Potency, it's a 5-cost elemental well mod, which I believe would go in the 4th column, 4th slot, which means that I'm disrupting my build currently. If I wanted to use that, I would be disrupting my build. The effect, it's not very effective. It gives you like a smidgen of super whenever you pick an elemental well up. And it has to be a matching elemental well, so keep that in mind. So if I were to do this, I would also have to throw on another mod. Either I would only be able to play Arc and be able to keep using Overcharge Wellmaker, or I would have to first off strip one of my other pieces and then also change this piece so that it always makes the matching elemental well mod. And what mods do that? Well, you got the grenade, and you got the armaments and the super. I think those are the only ones that do matching. So grenade, super, and armaments. But the thing is, with armaments, you have to then go find a matching weapon for your subclass. So you got to match all these things together. You got to disrupt your loadout all this much. But with my current build, I don't have to do that. Seasonal artifacts mods don't affect me. Okay, what about this one? Casting your solar super restores you to full health and shields. It's like, okay, I mean that's basically Apotheosis Veil. Like, it's just like, who's gonna use that? Like, yeah, for PvP I get it, but like, okay, wow, I can use my super one time in like a trials match, one or two times, and get my like stuff refilled. It's like, yeah, that I mean, when you're popping your super in PvP, you're already going to like dominate someone basically. So it's like, okay, I mean that's kind of questionable. Okay, thermoclastic blooming, defeating a combatant with a solar or stasis melee creates an orb of power. What? You have to use a solar or stasis melee to make an orb of power. Like, I get it's a low cost thing, but it's an arms mod. That's an arms armor mod. And you already have your champion mods that are filled on that slot. That doesn't make any sense. Why would I do that? So, that would, like, guarantee you're never getting fastball if you're using that. Look, conceptually, it sounds cool. But it's like, they make all these choices of, like, oh, where does it go? How much does it cost? Those things disrupt my build. And I'm sure they disrupt yours. And this is why I've gotten to the point where it's just like, I'm not changing this. I'm just not going to go through the effort of like, okay, I gotta do this, and this. I gotta take off these mods. I gotta change this every single time. And even with the newly updated, like thing that they're talking about with builds. So right here, they're talking about removing Glimmer from your mod swapping. It's like, yeah, that's good. Third-party sites will be able to look. Third-party Destiny 2 apps starting in December. Free and reversible socket actions available to third-party Destiny 2 apps starting December 7. So you'll be able to make like armor sets and stuff like that on like Dim and whatnot. Like, yeah, that's cool. But it's like, I still got to go through a third-party app, click, okay, I want to save this set. I want to make this set. I want to do this, and this. You got to do all these things. It's easier if I just don't touch this and just constantly use this. Because there's never a point where having half your super back instantly is a bad choice. I mean, and if I really wanted to change this, I could just go here, quickly go to Protective Light, and bam, it still functions because Protective Light still consumes all stacks, and it still benefits more from having all stacks. And it's only minus 10 strength, and 10 strength is really not that big of a deal. And then, yeah, that's a mod that I think is stupid. And then another thing we go see from 2 weeks ago, I believe, the TWAB, where Bungie's talking about the cooldowns that they're going to change with grenades. You know, that's really cool. I like that idea. I like that they're going to say, okay, this grenade has this cooldown and this damage, and then this super has this cooldown and stuff like that. But they're doing all these other things, like they're changing how stats work relative to your cooldowns. So right here, this picture, this little part that is saying that the base cooldown time is actually the cooldown time at tier 3 of the relevant armor stat. Why would it be that? So you're penalized for not having tier 3. Now look, I get most people are going to have tier 3 armor on everything, on all your stats, regardless of anything. Typically. Now let's go back to my stat. Look, I only have tier 1 melee, but that doesn't matter because my melee in like Grandmasters, Master Nightfalls, or Master Vogue, and soon to be Master Dungeons are not that big of a deal. Melees are intrinsically like weaker than grenades because you have to be close to enemies typically. Now look, whenever they come out with the light subclass reworks during Witch Queen, you know, that's a different story because like most likely they're going to give all the subclasses range melees at that point because I think they've realized like close range melees are just like, it's a death sentence. If you try to actually do a melee build in this game, it's almost impossible. Especially in high level content. So let's go back to this TWAB from 2 weeks ago and see, okay, here's a cool thing where they're talking about the supers having different cooldowns. Now, I disagree with their like tier list and like how they've actually arranged certain supers. For example, tier 4, it's only hunters that benefit from tier 4. Like Blade Barrage. I think Blade Barrage is a very similar super to Nova Bomb in power and in like how it works. Like it's an instant cast ability that has a little bit of a residual effect after you cast it. So Blade Barrage, you cast it, you throw 2 sets of knives, then those knives deal damage on impact, and then also explode. Nova Bomb, it's like you got top tree or bottom tree. One is Slovo Bomb, one is the Vortex. Now, I don't know, maybe that means that they're going to make maybe with Witch Queen and the super and the light refresh and stuff like that, they're going to make these supers stronger to compensate. Like maybe that's why they're doing this. We're also going to get Well of Radiance and the Bubble from Titan as its own independent super right here. I personally think that Tether should be up there. All the support supers should be in tier 5. Roaming supers should be in a tier. instant cast super should be in a tier, and then there should be like a hybrid tier where it's like, okay, it's not really instant cast, but it's also not really roaming. And a good example of that would be like Golden Gun. Like Golden Gun is technically a roaming super, but it's like you cast it to get some ammo basically for your 3 or 6 instant cast abilities. It's an instant, like you see where it can kind of like be a gray area, because it's like when you shoot, it's instantly dealing that damage. It's not like Golden Gun gives you a bunch of passives like old Solar Warlock from D1 where it was like you get a bunch of cooldowns and stuff, which is now Well of Radiance. That'd be cool if they brought that super back, by the way. But then another thing, and I get this is for PvP, they're nerfing passives on our subclasses. So where is the build? Like, where does Bungie want us to build with this stuff? I get it's for PvP and like, but they're saying that they want builds to be more of an impact in PvP and PvE. Like, I just don't understand. Build crafting is rewarding within the moment-to-moment combat loop of Destiny. But build crafting, see, needs to play into our passives. We need to see our passive and be like, okay, I'm going to build into that passive so that I'm proccing that passive more often, I'm benefiting more, that passive is doing more for me, stuff like that. Okay, these are exotics. Yep. Okay, here's some mods. Like, they're nerfing all these mods in PvP because it gives you ability cooldown. But it's like, Bungie, I should be able to build into using my ability. Like, look, sure, nerf base stats, but then buff mods at the same time. You know what that does? That would make a difference between, okay, I have this mod on or I don't, which means, okay, it's important to have this mod on or this combination of mods, rather than like, okay, we're all basically equal and this mod is going to provide less of a benefit, but it's still a little bit of benefit, so I might as well use it. I hope some of y'all are understanding what I'm talking about here, as far as like if they really want build crafting to be a big deal, then they need to nerf base stats, but then buff the benefits you get from mods so that the effect of the mod is more significant. And I mean, that's basically all I really had to say. I mean, now I can talk about like some of the downfalls with a lot of the mods is like Warmind cells, just generally speaking, Warmind cells, elemental wells, and charge with light. I said this in another video I made before, but like Warmind cells, you gotta restrict your loadout very heavily, or restrict your subclass very heavily. For example, if I go over here to Wrath of Rasputin, 1-cost solar mod, first off, you gotta have a solar chest, you gotta have a solar armor piece, sorry. Then the mod itself only procs from solar splash damage, final blows, or having an Ikelos weapon or Seven Seraph weapon equipped and getting a kill with that. So basically having that mod on means that I have to use a solar subclass. So I'm down to 1/4 of my subclasses because the other ones don't do solar damage, obviously. And then, okay, then I look at my sources of solar splash damage. Okay, so top tree has nothing unless melee counts, but I've tested this. I've never seen an effect where that could spawn a Warmind cell, so let's just assume top tree does not have any solar splash damage. That's fair. Okay, middle tree doesn't inherently have solar splash damage, but it has Benevolent Dawn, which gives you grenade energy back, and we all know solar grenade counts as solar splash damage. So there you have a faster recharging grenade on that subclass. Okay, and then you have the bottom tree, which your melee, burning enemies explode, and I believe this counts for all burning enemies, and I think that counts as solar splash damage, but the problem here is it's a melee thing, and the super is kind of like not that good. Like, yeah, your super is going to generate Warmind cells, but it's just kind of questionable where it's like, okay, I could bring Well of Radiance or this. Well of Radiance, I'm going to get grenades more frequently, and I provide a buff to my teammates, where it's like bottom tree Dawnblade, okay, I can kill ads with my super to generate orbs of power and some Warmind cells, but if I've already killed the ads with my super, then why do I need the Warmind cells? So, I don't know. Personally, I don't see really a reason to do that. So, I would say this mod, like, restricts me to using Solar Grenade and Well of Radiance. Now, technically, you could do it on all three, because Solar Grenade is enough, but, like, top tree, and you're going to be flying to get your grenade back, and yeah, you can get your grenade back with Heat Rises if you're in the air, but that makes you a big target in PvE stuff, and typically there's going to be the damage resist gone for being in the air, stuff like that. It's just a safer bet to do Well of Radiance. Yes, look, I would be all for doing other Dawnblades. I would love to do that, but it's just like the mod, if you actually are playing into Warmind cell mods, you're going to want to be making Warmind cells as much as you can, and then making use of those Warmind cells. And then another thing is, I gotta commit all my other armor pieces to Warmind cells. So if I'm not doing that, then I'm hurting myself. And oh, guess what? My teammate decided to shoot my Warmind cell and break it. They didn't have any Warmind cell mods. Okay, now I'm punished because that person broke it. There's like little team synergy here and stuff like that. It's just, it's too complicated. This is why I will never like take off this build until they make the modding for actually build crafting like a lot more intuitive, I guess is the best way to put it. A lot more approachable, I guess. Because you could look at this, and I have 2 mods on here. I don't even have that great of stats. I could have better stats, but I'm using energy converter and it has -10 discipline for some reason. So I could have 90-90. Tier 9, tier 9, and I would be happy with that. Look, most people want recovery. I don't think Warlocks really need it because Healing Rift. And if I'm using Well of Radiance and, you know, tier 5 Healing Rift, someone steps in it, I get it back when it is not on the ground anymore. So these are just some of my thoughts about build crafting. Like, it's just not there yet. They need to do, like, first off, the cost of mods are ridiculous. And I think the only solution here is to, like, free up, like, if I have a helmet mod, I should be able to put that helmet mod in any of these slots. Like, that should just all be what it is. Like, why should I have to only put my build mod, my cool, like, effect mods or whatever? I call them build mods because they're really only build mods. Like, these other slots are just, it's just ammo economy. Ammo economy should not be dictated by mods. I shouldn't have to put on a finder to get a less effective ammo brick. Because y'all realize that the glowing ammo finder bricks are actually less than natural ammo bricks. So it's like, okay, why? Like if you have rocket launcher finder and you get a glowing heavy brick, it's just 1 rocket, opposed to 2, which normally come out of the regular heavy ammos. But basically, those are just my thoughts. I mean, take this as you will. I know I haven't uploaded in a while, but it's just kind of bugging me how Bungie's talking about build crafting and, like, look, I get it. Destiny has build crafting to an extent, but it's very, very early on in its, like, life cycle as far as, like, actual build features. And there's so many of these mods that Bungie added in the game, build aspects of the game. They restrict them so heavily by either having negative effects, having some weird prerequisite that doesn't make any sense, or it does make sense and it just is like, it just feels bad to have that as a prerequisite. Like the void ammo generating mod, if we go back to the game, like, this is my best example of like who came up with this and thought this, like, is balanced. Extra reserves. While charged with light, defeating combatants with a void damage grants a chance to drop special ammo. This effect consumes all stacks of charged with light. The more stacks you have, the higher the chance of getting the ammo drop. -10 intellect. -10 intellect. Have to use void damage. Consumes all stacks with charged with light, which means, and it's more effective at ×5. Which means you want to commit your entire build to doing ×5 charged with light on that mod. Which means that you don't have freedom of choice when it comes to your other mod slots. You know exactly, if you want to do ×5 charged with light, you have to have these 2 mods. You have to have supercharged and charged up. Then, to actually get charged with light, you need a mod to become charged with light. Now look, this could simply be taking charge. Yeah, that would free up 1 mod slot. But what are you going to put in that mod slot that's, like, benefiting you and your team? Well, elemental wells. This right here, it already does that. I don't see, like, even if I did want to run this terrible mod, this terrible extra reserves mod, which I wouldn't. I mean, the penalties and requirements of this mod are just ludicrous. I've never seen anyone run this. I hardly ever see anyone running anything. Typically, people throw on, like, I mean, they throw on ammo scavengers and finders and reloader mods. People don't build craft in this game because the game is not presenting it, 1, a necessity to build craft, and 2, like, a clear advantage for build crafting. Like, look, it is objectively better that I have this in PvE activities. Like, I'm objectively stronger than someone that doesn't have a ×5 charge with light energy converter build as far as super regen goes. Like, that's objective. I get my super back faster. Like, that's all there is to be said. Like, yeah, someone that has this exact same build in a tier 10 intellect, they're going to be better than me. And they should be rewarded, and they are rewarded for being better than me. They have faster super cooldown, you know? Like, but the game, most of the game does not there's no need for that. Most of the game is a bunch of match-made activities that are like super trivial, that you could throw a pebble at the enemies and they die and they all explode in a glorious explosion, and like you could literally AFK all the 6-player activities from every season because your other teammates are going to do it for you. There's no challenge to them. The champions aren't hard. You can kill the champions in the 6-player seasonal activities without even needing the champion mods. Now, that doesn't mean I think the champion mods are done properly. I think it's a stupid system where they're like, okay, there are going to be all these primary weapons that use that are champion mods, and we're going to give you one non-primary weapon for champion mods. All this does is incentivize people to use double primary. And we all know that double primary Destiny was not a good design. I don't know where Bungie is getting the idea that this needs to be how it is. Like, every champion mod should be a primary and a special or a heavy. Like, anti-barrier auto rifle should come with anti-barrier auto rifle and anti-barrier LMG. Overload bow should be overload bow and overload sniper. Unstoppable pulse should be unstoppable pulse and unstoppable fusion. And linears and fusion should just be in the same class. That doesn't, like, it's just complication after complication after complication. Unstoppable sidearms should be, I don't know, sidearms and hand cannons. What that does is free up the ability for you to use either a hand cannon or a sidearm. That's pretty simple. Overload swords, I don't know, shotguns, overload shotguns and overload swords. That'd be cool. Yeah, it's not a primary and a heavy, but it's a heavy and a special, and you know that gives shotguns a purpose and the in-game stuff. And we've had we've had unstoppable shotguns, but overload shotguns, similar idea. Just aim and then your shot overloads. Like, it's just little thing on little thing, and it's just like, don't get me wrong, the game is great, and you know they're doing good things as far as build crafting. But I think when they are talking about build crafting being this important thing, they're missing all the key points and all the key opportunities that they have before. I mean, they should honestly go back and look at most of these mods and buff them. They don't even like nobody's using extra reserves, Bungie. No one's using precisely charged. It's got a -10 discipline. You have to use either a linear fusion or a sniper. And you have to get multiple rapid precision final blows. Like, and either that, or you can just do taking charge, where you pick up an orb of power. Like who at Bungie? Well, also, okay, it's a 1-cost mod. See, and the cost right here wouldn't even matter, because it's like, I'm just limited to slots, not cost. You know, slots is my limiting factor right here, not the cost. So this being a 1-cost mod doesn't matter when this thing is just such an easier thing to use. I don't know. Those are just my few cents on the topic of build crafting, and like, yeah. Well, thanks for watching. If you like this, a thumbs up is appreciated. And if you want to see more content like this, consider subscribing. I really appreciate it. And thanks for watching.